This Journey Stories is part of the Museum on Main Street program through the Smithsonian. Traveling exhibits that go all around the United States. And when the Smithsonian retired this one from exhibition, they gave it to the Rural Retreat Depot Foundation, who in turn donated it to us because they just didn't have enough space for the whole exhibit. So it's a wonderful example of working together in a community, and they helped us assemble it, and hopefully this spring we'll have the grand opening with that and have the depot folks here too.
And this will be a permanent exhibit.
It will. It may not always be in this location, but it is definitely permanent with our museums.
And explain just what a tremendous, because this is a rare gift to get an exhibit like this for a small museum.
Absolutely, Zach. The whole Museum on Main Street program, the Smithsonian geared it for small communities who could not afford to do an exhibit of this magnitude themselves or to pay for a major exhibit to come in. So they're tailored to different topics. The one we had several years ago was called The Way We Work, and it was an evolution of work and how things have now switched to so much technology. This one, Journey Stories, is on people who came to America and then traveled, and the evolution of travel and the movement, migration, everything that's happened with the settlement of the country. So it's quite beautiful, we think, full of information, done by the Smithsonian staff. So we're just very, very fortunate to have it.
And as we come across here, we see the significance of travel and civil rights. The Freedom Now Poor button is one of the things that caught my eye, and the groundbreaking that took place in the 50s and 60s for African Americans, Rosa Parks, and that sort of thing.
Right, it starts, you can start on, the beauty of this is each section is self-contained, so you could start anywhere. Where the part that you picked is our expanded world, talking about mobility, second half of the 20th century. The very beginning is people coming over originally on the ships and then moving westward, covered wagons, settlement, pushing further west, and the mode of transportation. It's all geared on mobility and how that opened up the whole world to all peoples, really. And then it ends up with airplanes and space. So it goes through all the years.
And Wytheville, of course, was a very big hub going back to these stagecoach days.
Exactly. So that's why it's even more fitting as a transportation thing.
Very special that it would be here. And I'm looking at the display here. There's a beautiful brochure from the Blue Ridge Parkway and those old Viewmasters. I remember having one of those as a kid and having, Mickey Mouse cartoon slides in there. And apparently there was a lot of those for traveling as well. And so which direction does this go in to go
You might want to start here and then on both sides. There's so much content plus artifacts. And then work your way that way and then come back around this way. We moved this together for the Festival of Trees.
And I saw the Festival of Trees in...
Hopefully you can come this way.
I saw the Festival of Trees in December and brought my family to that, and that was included in my Christmas order.
Oh, wonderful. You know what? Come around this way.
It was a beautiful thing, the Festival of
Normally, we do have this more spread out, but in order to do that exhibit, we had to condense the space. But if you come here, it'll start you with Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island. It goes back to the Mayflower, the first ships coming into Jamestown.
Ellis Island is someplace I've been.
It's really impressive.
Enough to see that. You can spend an entire day.
Right. But this kind of gives you a feeling of the early travel, the explorers, the Spanish, everybody who first came to this part of the world. And so you'll see that each case, with each section, will have artifacts that represent the subject matter there. And here's the Atlantic Trade Triangle. I think the artwork is so impressive with it too.
That's before the birth of the country.
Yes.
And look at this particular piece here. That's very fascinating. The way they.
And this is
The way they wrote.
on the 25th of the month of June of this year of 1709, passed by here on the way to Zuni Ramon Garcia Jurado, a Spanish traveler in what is today New Mexico, left his mark at a well-used trail.
What a fascinating piece.
So then over here, you've got where people are starting to move westward. And those are very familiar looking pictures. So this features, our part of the country with Cumberland. So they went
Gap.
Cumberland going to Kentucky and parts west.
Through Virginia and eastern Kentucky and Tennessee, they definitely would have had to come through here.
That's right. So odds are they stopped at Fort Chiswell and got resupplied at the fort there, the stores, and then maybe stayed a day or two and then moved on to points west.
It's really amazing to think about what my home or your home in Wytheville would have been like in those days.
Exactly.
That people were, it's still the, we are the halfway point between Florida and the Great Lakes, but even as far as back then, it was the hub for travel.
Absolutely. And that's something we're going to be developing in the Boyd Museum. We'll have more about Fort Chiswell and the importance that it plays.
Here.
This is canals and communities. This was by the 1830s. Different ways of transportation and trying to make things shorter, the trips, and more efficient.
Long before today's interstate.
Oh, gosh. And over here, you're getting into the section where the railroads started. And that's when things really started to change.
I've always, I hear the train going past my house. I live very near where the Wytheville Depot used to be. And I would love for those old passenger trains to still be available from town to town. How neat that must have been. Very good substitute for a ferry boat may be made with a wagon bed by filling it with empty water casks, stopped tight and secured in the wagon with ropes, cast lashed opposite center at the outside. It was then placed in the water bottom upward, and the men on the opposite bank pull it across the loading, where it was discharged and returned for another load, and so on, until all the baggage and men were passed over. It was no small feat to travel in those days. They wore goggles.
That's right. And I love this quote. It says, everything in life is somewhere else and you need a car to get there. And that's kind of Americans.
Yeah,
you know, we're so attached to our vehicles. But this starts you with the first highways. 1908 with Henry Ford introducing the Model T. The highways, if you think about it, that's what started pulling the country together, the east and west, north and south. Again, we were on Route 2152, Great Lakes to Florida Highway, major connections there.
And how long do you know of that Route 21's been here?
I think it started in the Great Lakes to Florida, started in the 1930s.
And
actually 1920s.
And 11 would have been
probably about that same time period. Yeah.
And those were
Those were your main
the main highways through the country.
Mm-hmm. If we go to the cars and the railroad, I'm thinking a lot of times, interstate highways, shipping, airplanes.
Oops. No, you're fine.
Statue of Liberty.
So it really covers so much of our culture and our society with the different ethnic groups that came over, the modes of transportation.
And the there was an African American migration, and if correct me if I'm wrong, in like the 1930s, in which African Americans moved from Georgia or from the south to the north to gain work.
Right.
Much as they did in times of slavery to escape that.
Right, and so much of, when you look at this, you realize that everybody who left home and came here was looking for opportunity. From the Irish, the Italian, Polish, whatever groups that came here. It was all in search for better opportunity.
What time are we at?
13 minutes and 47 seconds.
Okay, we've got some time then.
There's more on this back side too.
Okay. Yeah, we want to be sure that's that.
Yeah, here's what you were talking about, Zach.
It's so difficult to comprehend, to even begin to fathom that because of the color of someone else's skin or some sort of difference over which they had no control, they were considered less than human.
That's right.
And what is also sad is that we still have so far to go. And, after centuries trying to
there's always more we can do.
Absolutely. You never reach the pinnacle.
That's right. And the interesting thing now too, I think, relating to the railroads, is now there's a big push to bring back the railroads. You know, they keep looking at the trains coming back through here from Bristol and going up to DC and New York.
See, that would be wonderful.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. That's something that I've wanted to see for years.
It would just make it so much better economically and for travel and get some of the traffic off the interstates.
Yes. And potentially safer for all of us too.
Right, and Zach, here's an interesting thing that pertains to some of our local history. This is a quote in Texas about a cattle drive. I helped make my first cattle drive when only 12 years of age. We have some things in our history about the Crockett family. There was a fellow who was a big cattle person, and he details his whole thing with cattle drives and taking them to market. So some of the things that you don't think about happening in our part of the county actually were happening here too.
And some of the things that you don't see in big cities that you do see here is that farming is still very prevalent.
That's right, fortunately.
In our area, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Because we're so, as you said, we're so dependent on our vehicles, our cars and machines that make us move faster
That's
and
right.
more expediently, that we forget if we didn't have these farms and people who knew how to live off the land, we couldn't make it.
That's exactly right. And this, looking at the sheep and the livestock, it makes me think of Royal Retreat when it was the cabbage capital.
Yes, indeed.
And you've got the beautiful pictures in our files about Royal Retreat and all the cabbage being loaded and everything. And if you hadn't had those trains, and before the trains, the buggies and wagons to take that to market, Royal Retreat wouldn't have had that great economic driver there.
Right. I guess they sent cabbage all over the world.
They did.
And fed people all over the world.
Well, and think about the iron industry that we had in Wythe County. That was first taken out of the mines, the iron furnaces in the mines here, by wagon and horses and mules.
Yeah.
And then it became, you got all the train spurs and all the train lines here, Cripple Creek, Crockett, everything to all the iron furnaces.
And the main supply of ammunition for the Revolutionary War came from the shell tower.
That's right.
And the ammunition things were made from the lead and the iron in Austinville, which you know is very near and dear to my heart.
That's right, for the Civil War there too.
You're right. And your lead mines exhibit, by the way, is that still a part of your?
We're redoing that one. That's should be in another month. We should have that redone, and I hope you'll come back and look at that.
Absolutely. Well, my book is a part of that,
That's
which
right.
I'm very grateful.
That's right.
For.
And that is really a close look at the development of the lead mines, the iron industry, the communities that grew up around that. Austinville, Ivanhoe. There's so much important history there.
My wonderful friend, the late Daisy Rudy, has brought a great deal to about Austinville life to that exhibit.
Yes, she did. She did. So we're excited about getting that going. But you see, transportation and mobility is such a common theme with every topic.
We all need to get where we're going,
right.
However we get there.
Exactly.
You know.
And with this exhibit, it has a guide for different school ages and everything that the students and teachers can hone in on certain subjects that they might be studying. So there's so much that can come from this.
And you will launch this.
This spring we'll have a grand opening.
So good. Then I'm way ahead of any other publicity.
You'll be the first.
I get the story.
That's right.
Great.
That's why you're so good at that too.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm always very honored to help out the museum
Well,
because
we appreciate
I
that.
think that you all do so many great things and you have wonderful people working for you.
Thank you, Zach. It's a labor of love for all of us.
One of those wonderful people is Miss Belinda Street, and she has some great ideas for this exhibit, you said.
That's exactly right.
So,
So we'll be adding programming, Belinda will be adding the book club and the programming to go with this.
yeah, hopefully some book clubs, and I'm excited for that,
Good,
to be a part of that.
good.
And we'll keep making sure that people know about all this.
Thank you, Zach.
So, how are we now?
We're at 21 minutes and 6 seconds.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to probably wrap it up. Thank you, Frances.
Thank